I want you to do something simple. Think about what time you ate your last meal yesterday. Was it after 7 p.m., after 9, maybe closer to midnight? Now think about how you felt when you woke up this morning. Were you genuinely hungry, or did you wake up feeling a little heavy, a little foggy, a little off? That feeling is not random. That feeling is not just tiredness. And it is absolutely not about willpower. That feeling is your body telling you that it spent the night storing energy instead of burning it. And if that has been happening consistently, week after week, month after month, the weight you have been trying to lose is not stuck because of your effort. It is stuck because of your timing. I am going to show you why that is happening today. And more importantly, I am going to show you exactly how to fix it without changing a single food on your plate. This is not a diet video. There are no food lists here, no forbidden foods, no calorie counting. What I am about to share with you is rooted in the science of how your body actually processes food based on what time of day it is, and why the same meal eaten at breakfast produces a completely different result in your body than that same meal eaten at 9 p.m. If you have ever wondered why two people can eat the same things and one of them loses weight while the other gains it, this is the answer. If you have ever felt like your body is working against you no matter what you try, this is the explanation. And if you have been told that the only thing that matters is calories in versus calories out, I want to respectfully show you what the science actually says, because that picture is far from complete. We are going to go through 7 specific adjustments today, 7 things you can start doing immediately, and they are ranked in order of importance. So the first few set the foundation, but the last ones, especially the final one, that is where the real change happens. That is the piece most people are completely missing. So stay with me all the way through, because the most valuable part of this comes at the end. Let us start with the foundation of everything. In 2017, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to 3 scientists for their work on circadian rhythms. These are the internal biological clocks that every living cell in your body runs on. And when I say every cell, I mean it literally. Your liver has its own clock, your pancreas has its own clock, your stomach, your intestines, your fat cells, even the bacteria living in your gut, they all run on internal timing systems that are tied to the 24-hour cycle of light and dark. These clocks were not discovered by accident. Researchers had been studying them for decades. What the Nobel Prize recognized was the molecular mechanism behind how these clocks actually work at the cellular level. And what has come out of that research since then has completely changed how scientists think about metabolism, weight gain, and fat storage. Here is the core finding you need to understand. Your metabolism is not a constant engine running at the same speed all day. It is a variable system that peaks and dips according to your internal clock. Insulin sensitivity, which is how well your body handles carbohydrates and sugars, is at its highest in the morning and drops significantly as the day goes on. The thermic effect of food, which is the number of calories your body burns just by digesting a meal, is also substantially higher earlier in the day. The hormones that signal hunger, fullness, and fat storage all follow rhythmic patterns that are anchored to your biological clock. This means that when you eat matters in a way that is just as real and just as measurable as what you eat. Think about it this way. Imagine your metabolism like a large industrial bakery. In the morning, when the bakery opens, the ovens are fully heated, the staff is at full capacity, every machine is running. If you deliver ingredients in the morning, they get processed immediately, turned into product, and sent out the door. Nothing piles up. Nothing gets stored in the back. Now imagine you show up at that same bakery at 10 o'clock at night. The ovens have been cooling for hours. Half the staff has gone home. The machines are in standby mode. You bring in the same exact delivery of ingredients. What happens? They cannot be processed right now, so they get stacked in the storage room. They sit there overnight, waiting for morning. That is your body when you eat late. The same food, the same quantity, a completely different outcome. And this is not theoretical. This is measurable. Studies using continuous glucose monitors have shown that blood sugar spikes are significantly higher for the same meal eaten in the evening compared to the morning. Imaging studies have shown that fat storage in the liver increases when calories are consumed late. The biochemistry of your fat cells literally shifts towards storing energy at night rather than burning it. So when you feel heavier after a late dinner, you are not imagining it. Your body processed that food differently because of the time it arrived. Now, here is the part that stops most people. They hear this and they think, okay, but I have always eaten late and I was fine before. And you know what? That might be true. Think back 10 or 15 years. Maybe you ate late regularly and it did not seem to catch up with you. But notice what has happened since then. The same habits now produce different results. A late dinner now means a bloated, sluggish morning. Extra calories now seem to go straight to your waistline in a way they did not before. This is not coincidence. This is biology. As we age, our circadian clock becomes more sensitive to disruption. The window of peak metabolic efficiency in the morning gets stronger, and the drop in efficiency at night gets more pronounced. This is not something going wrong with your body. It is actually your biology doing exactly what it is supposed to do. It is just that our modern habits, late nights, artificial light, eating at all hours, are completely out of sync with what our biology expects. And here is the part that matters most. This is not inevitable damage. It is not permanent. Because circadian disruption is the problem, circadian alignment is the solution. And alignment is something you can start doing today. So let us get into the 7 adjustments. And remember, these are ranked with the most powerful ones coming at the end. Every one of these has research behind it. Every one of them is practical. And every one of them works by helping your body run on the schedule it was designed to run on. Adjustment number 7 is consistency. And I want you to understand why this matters before we talk about what to do. Your gut contains trillions of bacteria. This community of bacteria, called your microbiome, plays an enormous role in your metabolism, your immunity, your mood, and your weight. And one of the most important things about your microbiome is that it runs on a clock. These bacteria have their own circadian rhythms. They shift their activity, their composition, and their metabolic output based on the time of day and the predictability of when food arrives. There was a fascinating study that looked at people with severe jet lag, the kind you get when you travel across many time zones rapidly. Researchers collected gut bacteria from these jet-lagged individuals and transferred them into mice. The mice gained weight, not because of any specific food, not because of any change in calories, but simply because the timing disruption from the donor's gut bacteria promoted fat storage. Your microbiome thrives on regularity. When you eat at consistent times, your gut bacteria know what to expect. They prepare digestive enzymes at the right time. They manage inflammation on schedule. They communicate with your metabolism in an organized, efficient way. But when your eating schedule is chaotic, when you eat at noon on Monday, skip lunch on Tuesday, eat at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, and have a huge late meal on Thursday, your gut bacteria become what researchers call dysrhythmic. They are working out of sync with each other and out of sync with your body. And dysrhythmic gut bacteria are associated with increased inflammation, increased fat storage, and increased insulin resistance. The practical takeaway is straightforward. Eat your meals within consistent time windows every single day. This includes weekends. This is the part most people resist. They are disciplined Monday through Friday and then completely unpredictable Saturday and Sunday. But your microbiome does not take weekends off. When your eating schedule swings dramatically from weekday to weekend, your gut bacteria experience something metabolically similar to flying across multiple time zones twice a week. Researchers actually call this social jet lag, and it is measurably associated with higher body weight and worse metabolic health. You do not have to be rigid. A window of about an hour in either direction is fine. But aim to start your first meal around the same time each day and finish your last meal within a similar window each evening. That consistency alone begins to shift your microbiome toward a fat-burning, metabolism-supporting profile. Now, let us talk about something that most people never connect to their weight: light. Adjustment number 6 is morning light exposure. And I want to explain the mechanism here because once you understand it, you will never think about morning light the same way again. Your brain contains a structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It is tiny, a cluster of about 20,000 neurons, but it is the master clock of your entire body. It is the control center that sets the timing for every other clock and every other organ. And the primary input it uses to set that timing is light. When bright light enters your eyes in the morning, it sends a signal to this master clock that says, the day has started. The master clock then broadcasts that signal to every organ in your body. Your liver gets the signal to begin ramping up glucose processing. Your pancreas gets the signal to prepare for insulin production. Your fat cells get the signal to shift toward fat burning. Your entire metabolic system gets synchronized and activated by that morning light. When you do not get morning light, or when the first light you get is artificial indoor light or the blue glow of a phone screen, the master clock gets a weaker, less precise signal. The synchronization is incomplete. And when your master clock is not fully synchronized, the downstream effects on metabolism are real and measurable. Studies have shown that people who get bright light exposure in the morning have measurably better insulin sensitivity, better mood, better sleep quality, and more successful weight management outcomes than people who stay in dim indoor light all morning. One study found that 45 minutes of bright morning light over several weeks produced significant improvements in fat loss, even without any changes to diet. The practical recommendation is 15 to 30 minutes of outdoor natural light within an hour of waking. It does not need to be direct sunlight. Even on a cloudy day, outdoor light is dramatically brighter than indoor artificial light. You do not need to stare at the sky. Just be outside, walk, have your morning drink outside. Do anything that gets your eyes exposed to natural outdoor light. And the flip side of this is equally important. At night, dim your environment. Your master clock needs darkness to trigger melatonin release. Melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It is a metabolic signal that coordinates your body's overnight fat burning and repair processes. When you have bright artificial lights on at 10 p.m. or when you are scrolling on a bright phone screen before bed, you are suppressing melatonin. You are telling your master clock that it is still daytime. And when your master clock thinks it is still daytime, your body does not fully shift into the metabolic nighttime mode it needs to process the day's intake efficiently. Morning light on, evening light off. Those two habits alone begin resynchronizing your metabolic clock in a way that meaningfully supports fat loss. Adjustment number 5 involves sleep and a natural compound you probably have in your kitchen right now. Before I explain this, I want to quickly cover why sleep matters so profoundly for weight. When you are sleep deprived, even mildly, two key hormones shift in the wrong direction. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, goes up. Leptin, the fullness hormone, goes down. This means you feel hungrier, you feel less satisfied when you eat, and your cravings for high-calorie, high-carbohydrate foods increase dramatically. Studies show that even a single night of poor sleep can increase calorie intake the next day by several hundred calories, not because of any change in what food is available, but purely because of hormonal changes driven by inadequate sleep. Sleep deprivation also directly reduces insulin sensitivity. After just a few nights of insufficient sleep, the metabolic profile of a healthy person begins to resemble that of someone with prediabetes. The body becomes less efficient at handling glucose, and more of what you eat gets stored rather than burned. So protecting your sleep quality is not just about energy. It is a direct metabolic intervention. Now, melatonin is often recommended as a sleep supplement, and many people do find it helpful. But most commercial melatonin supplements are dramatically overdosed. The doses commonly sold in pharmacies, ranging from 5 to 10 milligrams, are far higher than what the body naturally produces and what research suggests is effective. High doses can actually disrupt sleep architecture in some people, and they can suppress the body's own ability to produce melatonin naturally over time. A more elegant approach, and one that provides other metabolic benefits as well, is to get melatonin from food. And one of the richest natural food sources of melatonin is pistachios. Pistachios contain genuinely notable amounts of naturally occurring melatonin. Eating a small portion, around 28 grams, about a handful, roughly 2 hours before sleep, provides a gentle, natural melatonin signal to your body. This helps initiate the biological nighttime transition, signals your master clock that the day is ending, and helps coordinate the overnight hormonal and metabolic processes that support fat burning during sleep. The key word in that is small portion. This is not a snacking opportunity. It is a biological signal. A small, consistent portion of pistachios in the evening before bed is the application here. If you eat a large amount late at night, you are adding significant calories at exactly the wrong time of day, which directly contradicts the timing principles we are building. Think of it as sending a precise message to your biology, not as a late night snack. Adjustment number 4 is something that has been used in traditional medicine for thousands of years and is now being validated by modern cellular biology research. The pathway we are talking about is called AMPK. That stands for AMP activated protein kinase. You do not need to memorize the name, but you do need to understand what it does. AMPK is essentially an energy sensor inside your cells. When it gets activated, it tells your body to burn stored fuel, improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and increase cellular efficiency. It is one of the primary mechanisms through which both fasting and exercise produce their metabolic benefits. The fascinating thing is that certain compounds found in common spices activate this same AMPK pathway. Cumin, turmeric, and black cumin, also sometimes called Nigella sativa, have all shown AMPK activating properties in research. Studies on these spices have demonstrated improvements in waist circumference, fasting blood sugar, triglycerides, and overall metabolic markers in participants who consume them regularly. These are not dramatic drug-like effects, but they are real, measurable, consistent effects that come with essentially zero downsides, because these are foods that have been consumed safely for thousands of years. The practical application is to incorporate these spices into your main meals daily. Add cumin and turmeric to your lunch. Use them in cooking, in dressings, in soups, in rice dishes. If you can tolerate them, sprinkle them generously. The doses used in the positive studies were achievable through regular culinary use, not through supplements. The reason I am specifically recommending these at lunch rather than dinner is tied back to the timing principle. AMPK activation is most beneficial when it is paired with the period of peak metabolic activity. Lunchtime, when your metabolic machinery is still running near full capacity, is the ideal window for these metabolic activators to work most effectively. What you want to move away from is the reliance on ultra-processed, bland, spice-free foods that provide no metabolic signaling whatsoever. Every meal is an opportunity to send instructions to your biology. These spices are part of that language. Now let us move into the heavy hitters. The next 3 adjustments are where most of the meaningful, noticeable metabolic change happens. If you are still with me, this is where the real value is. Adjustment number 3 is about a specific food that most people either consume in the wrong form or skip entirely. Flaxseed is one of the most studied functional foods in the nutrition literature. It is rich in a type of fiber called soluble fiber, as well as plant-based omega-3 fatty acids and compounds called lignans that have hormonal and metabolic effects. When you eat whole flax seeds, most of the nutritional content passes through your digestive system unabsorbed. The outer shell is too hard for the body to break down. You get essentially no benefit. But when you consume ground flaxseed, the contents of the seed become available to your body, and what happens then is genuinely impressive. The soluble fiber in ground flax forms a thick gel in your digestive system. This gel slows the emptying of your stomach, which means nutrients including glucose and fats are absorbed more slowly and gradually. Blood sugar spikes are reduced, Insulin response is moderated. Hunger is suppressed for longer because the physical mass of this gel in your stomach sends sustained fullness signals to your brain. There was a clinical comparison that looked at two groups following a calorie-managed diet. One group followed the diet alone. The other group added 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed daily. After the study period, the diet-only group lost approximately 3 kilograms on average. The diet plus ground flax group lost nearly 10 kilograms. The difference was almost 3 times greater, achieved with the exact same dietary framework, simply by adding this one ingredient. The mechanism is not magic, it is physiology. Better blood sugar control, reduced insulin spikes, improved satiety, and some additional hormonal benefits from the lignans all compound together to produce dramatically better outcomes. The practical recommendation is 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed daily, added to your morning meal or stirred into water or a drink. The critical detail is freshly ground. Pre-ground flaxseed that has been sitting in a bag at the store or in your pantry for months has had its beneficial fats degraded. Those degraded fats are not just less beneficial, they are actually mildly inflammatory. Buy whole flax seeds and grind a small amount fresh each day. A small coffee grinder works perfectly. This takes 30 seconds and makes an enormous difference in the quality of what you are consuming. Adjustment number 2 has been dismissed by some as a wellness fad, but the research on it is surprisingly solid and the mechanism is well understood. Apple cider vinegar contains acetic acid as its primary active compound, and acetic acid, when consumed in the right dose and the right way, produces several measurable metabolic effects. It activates the AMPK pathway we discussed earlier. It slows gastric emptying, similar to the effect of flax fiber, meaning it blunts the blood sugar spike after a meal. It reduces the activity of enzymes that break down starch, so some of the carbohydrates you eat pass through without being fully absorbed. And it has shown effects on fat storage pathways, particularly in the liver and abdominal region. A randomized, double-blind study conducted in Japan with 155 participants over 12 weeks is one of the most cited pieces of evidence here. Participants consumed either 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar daily. The control group consumed a placebo that tasted similar but contained no acetic acid. At the end of 12 weeks, the groups consuming apple cider vinegar showed significant reductions in body weight, body fat percentage, waist circumference, and most notably, visceral fat confirmed by CT scan imaging. The 2 tablespoon group saw stronger results than the 1 tablespoon group, and both saw significantly better results than the control group. The effects were not enormous, but they were consistent, measurable, and achieved without any other dietary changes. Practically, take 1 to 2 tablespoons diluted in a full glass of water 15 to 20 minutes before your main meals. Do not ever drink it undiluted. The acidity of undiluted apple cider vinegar can damage tooth enamel and irritate the lining of your esophagus. Always dilute it. You can add a small amount of something to make it more palatable. Some people use a bit of cinnamon, some add a small amount of honey. The important thing is consistency, not perfection of taste. One other note on this. If you have any history of acid reflux, stomach ulcers, or are on medications that affect blood sugar or blood pressure, speak with your doctor before starting this practice. For most healthy adults, it is safe and well tolerated, but those specific conditions warrant a conversation with your healthcare provider first. You may notice within the first few days of doing this consistently that your post-meal heaviness decreases. That sensation of being uncomfortably full or sluggish after eating often diminishes. That is the blunting of blood sugar spikes and the improved gastric signaling that comes from the acetic acid doing its job. And now we arrive at adjustment number 1, the most powerful principle in everything we have covered today. The single change that explains why 2 people can eat identical foods, identical calories, and have dramatically different results. The principle is this: Eat your largest meal as early in the day as possible. I want to walk you through the research on this specifically because it is striking. An Israeli study published in the journal Obesity took two groups of women and gave both groups exactly the same total daily calorie intake. 400 calories per day. This was a controlled study. The calories were identical, the macronutrient ratios were identical, the foods were the same. The only difference was the distribution of those calories across the day. One group ate 700 calories at breakfast, 500 at lunch, and 200 at dinner. Their largest meal was in the morning. The other group ate the opposite. 200 calories at breakfast, 500 at lunch, and 700 calories at dinner. Their largest meal was in the evening. After 12 weeks, the big breakfast group had lost an average of nearly 9 kilograms. The big dinner group had lost an average of about 3.5 kilograms. Same calories, same foods, same total intake. The big breakfast group lost more than double the weight. But the researchers did not stop there. They also measured triglycerides, which are a form of fat in the blood and a key marker of cardiovascular and metabolic risk. In the big dinner group, triglycerides barely changed. In the big breakfast group, triglycerides dropped dramatically. The participants eating most of their calories earlier were not just losing more weight, they were improving their cardiovascular health markers more significantly as well. Why does this happen? The mechanisms come back to everything we have already discussed. Insulin sensitivity is at its highest in the morning. The thermic effect of food, meaning the calories burned simply by digesting and processing a meal, is meaningfully higher in the morning than in the evening. Research has shown that the same 800-calorie meal produces about 50% more heat and calorie expenditure through digestion when eaten in the morning versus the evening. Your fat storage enzymes in your fat cells, specifically an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase in fat tissue, are more active at night. This is the enzyme responsible for pulling fat out of your bloodstream and storing it in your fat cells. Eating a large meal at night when this enzyme is at peak activity is essentially feeding your fat storage machinery at the moment it is most ready to work. Conversely, your muscle tissue also has lipoprotein lipase activity, and that activity is higher during the day. Eating earlier means more of what you consume goes toward fueling and supporting muscle tissue rather than being deposited in fat. The old advice to eat like a king at breakfast, a prince at lunch, and a beggar at dinner is not folk wisdom. It is metabolic physiology. And this is why people fail while eating what they believe is a healthy diet. They choose good foods, they manage their portions, but they consume most of their calories in the evening. A grilled chicken salad eaten at 9 p.m. is metabolically different from the same grilled chicken salad eaten at noon, not in its nutritional content, in what your body does with it. The villain is not carbohydrates. It is not fat. It is not any particular food group. It is mistimed fuel delivery to a body that processes fuel on a strict biological schedule. Now, if you are thinking, I have been eating large dinners my entire life, how do I change this? I want to address that directly. Do not try to flip everything overnight. Your body has adapted to your current eating schedule. Your hunger hormones, your digestive rhythms, your gut bacteria, all of them are currently calibrated to expect food at the times you currently eat. If you suddenly eat nothing in the evening after years of large, late dinners, you will be miserable. Your hunger signals will be screaming at you all evening. You will feel deprived, and that feeling of deprivation is one of the most reliable predictors of giving up. Instead, shift gradually. Begin by moving 100 to 200 calories earlier each week. Make breakfast slightly more substantial. Make dinner slightly smaller. Give your hunger hormones and your microbiome time to recalibrate. Within a few weeks to a few months, your body will naturally begin to feel hungrier earlier in the day and less hungry in the evening. The shift becomes self-reinforcing because your biology catches up to your new schedule. This is adjustment, not punishment. The goal is to work with your biology, not to white knuckle your way through deprivation. When you make this shift, here is what you are likely to notice in the first few weeks. Your afternoon energy becomes more stable. The mid-afternoon energy crash that many people experience and often address with coffee or sugar tends to diminish when your largest calorie intake happens earlier. You will likely experience fewer cravings in the evening because your blood sugar has remained more stable throughout the day. Your mornings will feel lighter, not just in terms of weight on the scale, but in terms of how your body feels when you wake up. The heaviness and fogginess that comes from late, large meals will begin to lift. These are not dramatic, immediate transformations. They are subtle, consistent signals from your body that it is beginning to run on the schedule it was designed for. And those subtle, consistent changes are exactly what compounds into significant, lasting transformation over weeks and months. Let me also address something that comes up frequently when people first hear about timing-based approaches to metabolism. Some people have schedules, work situations, or family obligations that make early large meals genuinely difficult. Night shift workers, people with demanding morning schedules, parents managing young children's schedules, these are real constraints. The principle here is not absolute rigidity, it is directional improvement. If you genuinely cannot eat a large breakfast every day, you can still benefit from this science by making incremental adjustments in the right direction. Eating your largest meal at lunch rather than dinner is a meaningful improvement. Finishing your final meal of the day at 7 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. makes a measurable difference. Any shift that moves calories earlier and gives your body more of the clock-aligned processing time it needs is a step in the right direction. Perfection is not the goal. Alignment is the goal. Let us also talk briefly about what researchers call time-restricted eating. Many people have heard about it, sometimes referred to as intermittent fasting, and it connects directly to the timing principles we have been discussing. Time-restricted eating, particularly when the eating window is aligned with daylight hours, essentially a pattern of eating earlier in the day and finishing eating well before bed, is one of the most well-studied practical applications of circadian nutrition science. Studies have shown benefits for weight, blood sugar, blood pressure, and inflammatory markers, even when total calorie intake stays the same. The benefits appear to come largely from the alignment of eating with the body's peak metabolic window, which is exactly the mechanism we have been discussing throughout this video. You do not need to follow a strict fasting protocol to benefit from these principles, but finishing your last meal at least 3 hours before sleep captures a significant portion of the benefit without requiring a rigid eating schedule. Now let us pull everything together into a clear, practical framework that you can start implementing immediately. Here is the foundation of what you have learned today. Your body runs on biological clocks. These clocks control how your metabolism handles food, and those controls produce dramatically different outcomes depending on what time of day food arrives. Fat storage enzymes are more active at night. Insulin sensitivity is higher in the morning. The calorie burn from digesting food is higher in the morning. These are not small differences. In controlled studies, they produce more than double the fat loss from identical calorie intakes. The 7 adjustments in order from foundational to most powerful are these. Eat at consistent times every day, including weekends, to keep your microbiome and metabolic rhythms synchronized. Get 15 to 30 minutes of natural outdoor light within an hour of waking to calibrate your master metabolic clock. Have a small portion of pistachios 2 hours before bed to provide a natural melatonin signal and support your overnight metabolic rhythms. Add cumin, turmeric, and black cumin to your main meals to activate the AMPK cellular energy pathway. Consume 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed daily with your morning meal to improve satiety signaling and blood sugar management. Take 1 to 2 tablespoons of diluted apple cider vinegar before meals to blunt blood sugar spikes and activate fat metabolism pathways. And shift your largest meal as early in the day as possible, letting dinner become your smallest meal of the day. For the next 30 days, I want you to implement these changes gradually. Start with the ones that feel most accessible. Morning light and meal consistency are excellent starting points because they cost nothing and require no new foods or supplements. Add ground flax to your morning routine. Begin shifting dinner calories toward breakfast. Track 3 things: your morning weight each day, measured at the same time under the same conditions, your waist circumference once a week, and your energy level through the day, particularly in the afternoon, where the effects of better metabolic timing show up most clearly. You are not looking for dramatic daily changes. You are looking for a consistent trend over weeks. You are letting your body show you the data of what happens when you start working with your biology instead of against it. Here is the most important reframe I want to leave you with. If you have struggled with weight, if you have tried and failed, if you have eaten well and exercised and still not gotten the results you expected, the problem is very likely not your effort or your discipline. The problem is timing. You have been fighting your own biology without knowing it. Your body is not broken. Your schedule is misaligned. And alignment is something you can begin today, not with a dramatic overhaul, not with restriction or punishment, with small, consistent adjustments that bring your habits into sync with the internal clocks that govern everything your metabolism does. Your body wants to work efficiently. It wants to burn fuel and manage energy and maintain a healthy weight. It is built to do exactly that. It just needs to receive its fuel on the schedule it was designed for. Give your body rhythm. Give it consistency. Give it fuel at the right time of day. And watch what happens when you stop fighting your biology and start working with it instead. In the next video, I am going to take this further and show you exactly what to eat at breakfast to take full advantage of this morning metabolic window. Because timing is the foundation, but the composition of your morning meal is what completes the system. There are specific foods that work with your morning hormonal environment to amplify fat burning, and there are foods that work against it even when eaten at the right time. That video will give you the full picture. If what you learned today resonated with you, subscribe so you do not miss that. And drop a comment below telling me what time you typically eat your largest meal of the day. I read every comment, and seeing where people are starting from helps me make sure the next video gives you exactly what you need.